What's up, guys? If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Also, please smash that like button on the video and enjoy the show.
If you see like sites like this and they have that connection, all of a sudden you see giant intricately carved basalt and andesite stones and temples that are highly sophisticated. Like, my theory is that that knowledge was passed down at that site for how to do it, for how to create it and do it in the tool.
When?
I think that it was over 20,000 years ago.
On what basis?
When you're looking at the Younger Dryas disasters, you find
And
quickly...
Younger Dryas for people
Younger
out there.
Dryas, end of the last ice age, 13,000 years ago. The problem is that that site doesn't make sense because it has all the characteristics of the lost civilizations we see around the world. Highly sophisticated, amazing stuff they created. We don't know how they did it, right? Hard stone, all these things. There's like telltale signs around the world for that type of thing. And we know that we call them the lost civilizations. But here, it seems that the designs that they built into the sites, then we could find them everywhere else after. And the symbols that they carved into them then made their way all around the world, okay? But in a way where they're not all together anywhere like they are here. Imagine civilizations around the world all having pieces of like how to reach higher states of consciousness and energy, and they know all that. But they portray it in like slightly different ways, right? But imagine finding a place where it's all together in one, in a way where it's like, it's in its like pure form, it seems like. And amongst those things, what blew my mind, the reason I ran around the room when I found Ionis is because very well displayed in the very center above an altarpiece, carved into andesite, is the depiction that I believe may be the very first cross in all of history. Okay? Now, for those who want to know what that specific type of cross is, that cross is later known as the Knights Templar cross or the Knights cross or the Red Cross. Now, can we pull up a couple images on there while we're talking? First thing I just want to, when we look at Ionis and look at the specific cross that's at Ionis, okay? Look at how it looks, Julian, okay? See how it looks like the edges are all equal and it almost forms what looks like the symbol of the sun there on that, but it's slightly different. That type of cross that we see that came out of Ionis, we then find at the core of some of the most highly established and most powerful religious groups in the world. Now, what we're looking at right now is what's called the Knights Templar cross, which is identical to the cross at Ionis. And we also find that same cross in some of the, in Ashurbanipal's lineages with another ancient king that ruled during the time of Ashurbanipal called Shemsi. And Shemsi showed the same exact cross on his person thousands of years later in that region as part of the Assyrian civilization. Now, it gets deeper. That same cross, that specific, exactly that same cross, we then find across the world in Bolivia at Lake Titicaca. This, I don't have an image in front of me for that, but you'll have it in your, you can pull up over there, yeah. Is that the same symbol, the cross symbol at Lake Titicaca, as well as the Chicana symbol from this match up identically. And to expand even further, you can look at Pope Francis or all the popes that have come before him, and you look at their wardrobe, and the exact same cross is the primary cross shown with all the popes. Okay? Different than the Christian cross. That's something
we're going
to talk about.
This is, you know what?
There you go. There's the cross at Pumapunku at Lake Titicaca across the world.
And that one's a different look than what we're looking at.
Slightly
right
different, but it's got the same three indentations of the teachings of three.
The what?
We haven't gotten into that yet.
Okay.
There are these core teaching principles that this civilization knew that then passed its way around the world. Okay? And it's this idea of three. That our totality of what we exist in is we exist in a totality of three things. Three primary things. Religion called it the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost. Spirituality, more of like our side, we call it the mind, the body, and the soul. Okay? But there's another aspect as well, and it's this aspect of energy. And they believed that because we have a defined masculine and feminine energy, okay, and that's what this is right here. Because we have two sides that if we can balance the two hemispheres of our left and right brain, our masculine and feminine energy, we unlock a key. A key unlocks something that is not hidden. It has become hidden now, but back in this, when this civilization was learning this, they were like teaching us, and this is called the Triptic Doorway. These 3 doorways with a central doorway in the middle on how to basically achieve higher states of consciousness. And what it means is, I just want to add this.
Go ahead.
If you balance the left and the right sides, the hemispheres, the energies, it doesn't matter. They're all related, right? Your left brain is usually masculine, your right brain is feminine. Same thing. It's just part of our totality, what we exist in. What they're saying in this, and why is fleur-de-lis symbol is pointing to this.
Fleur-de-lis killing me hearing that.
Well, I'm telling you that symbol goes back a lot further than France.
Yeah.
Okay.
I get the connotation.
Well, you can see it right on his helmet and his hat right here.
I just remember from the movie L.A. Confidential. Fleur-de-lis.
Well, so what they're saying is if you can balance the left and right sides, these other totalities what we exist in, like the mind, the body, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can unlock the higher consciousness or spirit. Now, in Hindu religions, they
Quick
call
question.
it the Kundalini energy, and it has to do with our spine and how energy can unlock to reach like these Buddha-like states. Now, the rod of Asclepius or the wings of Hermes shows that rod with the energy spiraling up with wings at the top. It's the same thing as this. That's what they're trying to say in this box relief from Kef Temple.
Is some of what you're saying about the takeaway here, or is all of this your takeaway building on top of it, or are you also including other experts who have?
Yeah, so I
worked
brought
with
in
this?
a lot of other experts because this was my theory in finding these, because a lot of these discoveries are very new.
Who'd you bring in?
I brought in Paul Wallace to confirm with me. We spent like a whole weekend actually hiking. I came to Colorado.
And who's he?
Paul Wallace is an anomaly in our field, okay? Paul Wallace is one of, if not the only, ancient researcher speakers that speaks about what we talk about, who actually has a fundamental, significant background in the ministry. He was an archdeacon, which is one of the highest levels.
You talked about this guy earlier. I'm sorry. Yeah.
So Paul Wallace, I brought in to confirm, be like, look, Paul, I'm making all these like huge not accusations, but statements, right, about these symbols being religious context being the first. Like, I need you to look at this and tell me if I have any holes. Tell me if you disagree or if there's something that doesn't make sense. And you know what Paul said to me?
What did he say?
He looks at it all, takes his time. You know, that's what he does. He's careful.
Like a half hour.
No, well, I mean, we had actually talked online, and then when he came, we spent a lot of time discussing in person. And what he told me is this: he says, "I spent a lot of time looking at what you sent me, and looking over the cross and the history of what I know." And he says, the thing about it is like just looking at Ionis and looking at that cross. He's like, just purely academically, I can't say it's not. But just in terms of what I feel, it's like I know it is.
So
there's something special about this site.
But he's going on feel there.
No, he's looked at all the images, all the stuff depicting it and seeing it. He's adding another layer to it. And it's a layer that I'm trying to explain as well, is that my life has gotten somewhat strange since these discoveries. It's kind of weird dreams, things that have been happening that are hard to explain. Like let me just put it this way, and Paul was trying to hint at that. What if this is what I say it is? Just for a minute, let's just pretend that I am saying it is accurate. It's the first cross, the origins of like the lost civilizations, and these teachings that spread around the world that then we forgot and we tried to re-remember, and then religions took some of the teachings and wove them together with others.
Sure.
What if that is true for a minute? Okay. What kind of implications would that have for humanity? Imagine finding the very first cross that has a different meaning than it ever became. The very first chalice cup that has a different meaning.
Yeah. I mean, it might be.
It's what humanity needs.
Yeah, but it's it would be an incredible find, but it might be less consequential than you think. Because I'm just going to cherry pick one,
Sure.
right? You look at the cross. The cross became And it's interesting to look at all the images you pulled up of people in pop culture,
Right.
including in religious circles, by
Yeah,
the way,
yeah.
who happen to be using this type of cross right here.
Yeah, the
Interesting.
ancient Knights Templar cross.
But
yeah.
like the cross as we know it, like, do you wear a cross medallion, Alessi?
That's the Christian cross.
Right. Yeah, that's a Christian cross because that was this, and it's a different shape. It's different. It's different length.
There's actually
and
more than 20 different crosses in the world. Just
and
so
it's
you know.
and it's I'll bet there's a lot more than that actually. But it's the thing that Jesus was executed on.
It's the sacrifice
So
symbol.
so it became its own symbol again, not that long ago. We're talking just over 2,000 years ago, right?
Yeah.
This as like potentially the first type of cross we've seen. It's similar. The feeling I get when I look at this as a layman, is like we all joke about the first time caveman figured out the wheel, like, oh shit, it rolls. It's almost like this is the first time they took a scrape and they realized they can cross to make a shape. You know what I mean? I don't mean to oversimplify it, but that's what would make this extremely cool. It's like it's the first time they were using some sort of carving to get across a point that's not in a word, but it's in a shape that would become almost numerical or alphabetical. Does that make sense?
It does, but what if they're not? What if it's not based on that simplicity?
It might not be.
Like if you look at the associated symbols in Ionis, you see that it's a sun temple. They're worshiping the sun, and the sun symbol looks actually it looks very similar to the shape of the cross symbol in terms of being a circle. Okay, it's creating this circular type of symbol, and I think that is part of the meaning behind it.
Thank you for watching the video, guys. Please hit that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.